Good morning and welcome to Israel's Sustainable Packaging. My name is Anders Jensen and I am the Trade Officer at the Embassy of Israel in Copenhagen, working for the Foreign Trade Administration of the Ministry of Economy of Israel. We have a compact program for you today, so I hope you'll stay tuned and listen to some of the innovative Israeli packaging solutions we have, some of our great local speakers, some of our great Israeli speakers, and we'll be very, very happy to take your questions during the event, and we'll do our best to answer as many of them as we possibly can. I'd like to first introduce our partner from the Agrifood Park, CEO of Agrifood Park, Ms. Anne-Marie Hansen. And I'll just bring Anne-Marie live. Good morning, Anne-Marie. You are live.
Good morning, Anders. Nice to see you. And thank you for having me. I am very glad to have this opportunity to present Agrifood Park today. And thank you, first of all, to our partners, to the Embassy of Israel and the Israeli Export Institute and the Food&Bio Cluster Denmark and the business region of Aarhus for making this event possible. In Denmark, we have an ambition to have the Danish food and industrial sector sustainable by 2050. And we all know that the packaging is a very essential element in this big puzzle of achieving this sustainable sector overall. So it's a very important subject that we'll be discussing today, and I'm really glad that we have this opportunity to discuss the solutions that you're working on the Israeli side, and to have them presented in Denmark, and also to share some of our thoughts. So I'll just share a short presentation with you, just one moment. So I'll just want to give you a short impression of the Agrifood Park, since I hope that we'll, at some point, we'll be able to host you for a physical event. So here in Agrifood Park, we try to facilitate an environment that can support the development of sustainable solutions for both the agro and the food sector. So our entire environment is exclusively for companies within the food and agricultural sector, and we supply facilities for the individual company to come here and work from the Agrifood Park. And of course, it's the companies that, with their knowledge and their employees, that brings all the substance, all the knowledge, all the solutions to the environment. And we, from the Agrifood Park side, try to facilitate services and networking activities and talent attraction. So we give the individual company the best possible groundwork for succeeding in their work and in their development. And we have a large environment surrounding us, so we hope that we can even develop this environment further in the future. So at the moment, we are 80 companies that are with us today in 50,000 square meters of facilities and 1,200 employees across the 80 companies. And usually in a normal year where we are not in the middle of a global pandemic, we would have 70s networking activities that could be similar to this one in a physical layout to make sure that the companies and the people working in the companies have the opportunity of knowledge sharing. So that is also why it's important for us to support this morning's meeting, so that we can share solutions across the country, across international boundaries, and discuss the topics that are important to us. So that will be my opening, Anders.
Thanks very much indeed, Anna-Marie. That was very interesting. One moment. Again, thanks very much to the Agrifood Park. It is very, very interesting to follow the development taking place there in Aarhus. And I'm sure we'll be able to come there physically very soon and bring lots of Israeli innovations with us. Our next speaker is Helle Vedel-Friis from the Danish Food&Bio Cluster. Helle, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Anders, and thank you for everyone for being here today. I can only encourage what Anne-Marie just told you and support her words in the importance of being together, sharing knowledge and sharing valuable insights from different ecosystems. And one of those 80 companies Anne-Marie mentioned, which is located in Agrifood Park, is my office, and I'm very pleased to be part of an ecosystem like that, because it's very valuable that you have the ecosystem close together and that you have all the companies and resources you need close by. All right. Well, my name is Helle Vedel-Friis. I have a background in health and nutrition, specialized in food science and management. And for the last 3 years, I have worked here at Food&Bio Cluster Denmark with different innovation activities to support companies of all sizes, including building relations between the Nordics and the Israeli ecosystem. And therefore, it's also a great pleasure for me to see some familiar names among the attendees, but also the speakers. Okay, and I will just share and hopefully successfully. There you go. In general, Made in Denmark is a brand itself for food products because it reflects quality and safety and innovation. And today I'll share some insights from the Danish food industry and research. And Denmark, it is a small country. We have a population of 5.7 million inhabitants, but our food production can feed more than 15 million people. So how do we do that? Well, the major key here in Denmark is collaboration. And it's not a new thing, because already back in the days when the dairy corporation began, which we today all over the world known as Arla Food, is also a symbol of collaboration. And collaboration is deeply rooted in the Danish business culture, especially in the food industry. And it plays a key role in many of the innovative solutions the Danish food cluster has provided for some of the world's most complex problems. And in Denmark, finding new solutions and relevant knowledge to apply to the world's biggest challenges can only happen when various participants in the value chain work together. And that's also why it's so important that we are here today, so that we together can find some innovative solutions to these challenges we have. And the ability to be innovative and collaborate across companies, customers, scientists, and public institutions, and even market competitors has defined the shape of today's industry and the products that led it here. Without it, for example, salmonella would not have been eliminated from Danish poultry. And collaboration and for innovation and growth is the mission of Food&Bio Cluster Denmark. We operate 3 incubators for startups around Denmark, have more than 100 events every year, and facilitate projects for over 100 million euros. We offer our companies one-on-one sparring, access to networking groups, events, funding, new knowledge, and matchmaking, like I hope will happen today. And I would very much encourage all of you to book in some one-on-one meetings with the companies, because that's when you really can find a great knowledge sharing and get to have a dialogue on a deeper level. We are a membership organization with more than 300 members. across Denmark, but also international members. And maybe you see your own logo shown here. And if not yet, I would be very pleased to welcome you in the cluster. And in the cluster, we are following trends within food and bioresources. And of course, sustainable packaging is on top of mind because they set some very ambitious goals for the climate, especially within Denmark. And sustainable packaging is definitely one of the solutions there could be to achieve some of these goals. And we also have a networking group targeting especially this topic because we see a great interest in this field. So let me dive into this trend a little bit more. On a general note, trends are developing constantly. Maybe some of you remember these ones. It's the pause fishes from TV, depending on your age. When there's nothing to watch in TV, then there would be these fish. And today, actually, a lot less of the Danes, at least, are watching Flow TV. Everyone is just streaming whatever they want, whenever they want. So it's very rapidly changed. There has been, and these trends are developing constantly. And if you think about these little fish here, then you can think about that today there's Michelin chefs being controlled by robots to make sure that there's a lot of delicious and quality Michelin food being made in America. And just before COVID-19, this app, it's a doctor app called Kry from Sweden. Maybe some of you know it. It was groundbreaking for the industry that you could talk with your doctor over the app. I think actually with COVID-19, some of these technological solutions has developed a lot, and maybe for a good thing as well, because now we see a lot more services being offered like this. And if we dive into the sustainable packaging, the great dilemma with the sustainable packaging is that packaging can prevent food loss, but packaging is also a source of waste. So it's always a dilemma when you're choosing your packaging, and many things are already happening in this field, especially here in the Danish industry. So let me take you through some of the examples. One of our entrepreneur members is named Cellugy, and they have created a food packaging material based on waste from the fruits that they have, where they've created this flexible material that you can use for food packaging. And some of our larger members or companies are, of course, also looking to packaging. Arla Food could be an example. And Henrik, if you're here with us, you're of course very welcome to comment on these facts I'm gonna share with you now. For instance, Arla replaced the fossil-based plastic with a bio-based plastic material, which you can see here also changed the color of the carton. They also got rid of the screw cap you see, and if the plastic screw cap, and by doing that, they saved 10 grams of CO2 for each carton. And maybe that doesn't sound like very much, but they do also sell 74 million cartons of these each year. So the CO2 savings will add up. And another thing Arla also did was changing their crates. For those of you who are familiar with them, you would previous in time know these as the green crates. Now they've changed to these black crates. And this drastic makeover of the milk crate means that the CO2 emissions are being reduced by at least 30%. And in the first year, they estimate that 250,000 kilos of CO2 will be saved by doing this doing this crates makeover. We also see it in other subsectors of the food industry. BKI, which is a coffee brand, they changed their material to be 99% recyclable, and the foil reduces the climate impact by 23%, which also, of course, has a great impact and does a great deal on this climate agenda. And it also, what they actually did was that they made a thinner foil for their packaging. And so they also reduced their material consumption with 15%. And the fun thing about this story was that they actually did it without telling the consumer that they did it, and no consumers or customers from them noticed, or no one reacted to the change that they did. So they managed to go through with it and just test it. And of course, then after some time, they used it also in a branding and marketing way, of course, which would be expected. I think it's a great story on little changes you can do that has a great impact. Another product from Denmark you might know already is Carlsberg, the beers. They created this snap pack, which reduces the plastic usage with 76% compared to a normal 6-pack. And they expect that 1,200 tons of plastic will be saved when all their 4, 6, and 8 packs are converted to this packaging. You could say it may harm the convenience to pack it like this, but it's also a lot of plastic savings. And when you're looking at sustainable packaging, we all need to do new things and adapt to new situations. Last example I'll share with you is this. It's minced beef, which for the food service sector in Denmark and in some wholesale stores will be found these minced beef packages that they have changed from the classic black tray to a tubular packaging without oxygen. And this reduces the consumption of plastic to an absolute minimum. And at the same time, when the meat is packed without any oxygen, it also ensures that the shelf life from the production date is extended from 7 till 14 days. So one part here is that they can do a lot on the material side, but another thing is the food safety side, and the shelf life of this product has been extended. And then you could say, well, why even bother to look into this with the sustainable packaging solutions? When you see pictures like this, people react, and people react to picture like this, and maybe also this one even more, because it's about feelings. And when people react, it kind of forces companies to take action. And then there's also EU regulations. And EU regulation states that 50% of all plastic packaging must be reused in 2025. And if you look at plastic in private homes, more than half of the plastic there is food packaging. And that's the reason why it's the food industry that also needs to take some action here. And from the private homes, less than 20% of the plastic is reused today. So there is need for some actions to be done here to even meet the regulations there is. And then, of course, we also have the consumers. The consumers, they say, and on a general note, looking into sustainable packaging, then 60% of the consumers all over the world state that they're willing to pay more for more sustainable packaging. And if we dive into that, you can see that here from some newly research being done, that the consumers, they are willing to pay more for sustainable packaging materials. So I think this is a great opportunity for this industry and for our knowledge sharing today and insights, that we do have some consumers who are willing to buy these products and also pay maybe a bit higher price for it. You could also say that the brands or the food companies and this industry in general, they don't really have a choice any longer, because consumers are becoming very aware of this. And 61% of consumers are likely to switch brand if they experience that the other brand is more eco-friendly than their current brand. So these so the brands that we have in this industry, they really need to be aware of that, because at the end of the day, it is the consumers who are buying their products. Even though we have these facts or statistics here that the consumers are willing to pay more and very aware of the environment and the sustainability factor. We still see some different behavior. We could call this I call it the intention behavior gap. There is still a gap between the intention from the consumers and then the actual behavior. And there could be many reasons why there is still this gap. And I hope today we could also have get some inputs and maybe have a talk about why we still see this gap. And if some of you have inputs for it, please feel free to share it in the comments or in the Q&A. I'm very curious to hear your inputs on it. And if we look into the behavior, especially, it's because consumers, they're driven by different things. And one of the other factors could be organic food. Organic food is also very popular in Denmark. But if we look at the behavior from the organic food buyers, they also don't always match with the sustainability agenda. I just brought to you a behavior experiment here where you looked at organic food products that was packed in packaging and then some that was unpacked. And then you asked organic buyers and non-organic buyers got asked what food product they would prefer. And if you look at the results here, this research shows that that there is this paradox when it comes to packaging, at least when you look at organic and non-organic buyers, because the organic buyers, which is the black ones here, you can see, for instance, on the first one for cabbage, that they prefer the packed cabbage, whereas the non-organic buyers prefer the unpacked cabbage. So it's just to say there's still some paradox going on, and consumers are maybe still a little bit confused about what is sustainability, how does it reflect with other factors that's important for me in my daily life. So how do we close this gap? Hopefully today we'll also see some solution that will make it easier for everyone to solve this challenge. I, for myself, indeed believe that we need to increase the awareness of sustainability, communication, maybe labeling could help us. We need to overcome some of the barriers there is for sustainable packaging technologies. Nudging could be a solution, and social norms, framing. And in general, the way you look at sustainability, I believe that you will succeed if you have a more holistic view at the packaging. And not one solution fits all, and not one packaging is the most sustainable for all food products. And you need to realize this both as a packaging company, but also as a food producing company. You need to consider several parameters and include the full life cycle of the material you're choosing for your food products. All right, I think that was kind of it for me from now. And thank you, everyone. I'm very eager to hear more about the specific Israeli solutions and also the overall view from the kitchen in a moment. And otherwise, I'll just say feel free to contact me at any time. And I've shared with you a small picture from last time I was in Tel Aviv. And I hope that this current situation will allow us to go soon, so that we can strengthen the relation between these ecosystems that we have. That was it from me for now. Thank you.
Thanks very much indeed for that, Helle. That was very interesting. I see we do have one question, but we're running a little bit over time. So if you don't mind sticking around, Helle, we'll pick up on that in a little while. I'd like to introduce our speaker from the kitchen, Dr. Dorit Rosner, an expert in packaging and in the food tech ecosystem in Israel. Dr. Dorit, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Well, it's a pleasure being here. I will present today a little bit the work that the kitchen is doing, and also discuss the problems and the opportunities we see in the sustainable packaging area. Myself, I'm Dorit. I'm coming from a background of organic chemistry, finished my PhD in the Weizmann Institute, and have a lot of experience, more than 20 years of experience in the field of food and dietary supplement, and also pharmaceuticals, mostly in microencapsulation and drug delivery and I will show a little bit about our activities in.
Okay, and your presentation is live now.
So we are part of the Strauss Group. Strauss is the Israeli largest food companies. We operate in 22 countries around the world. We have more than 1,400 employees in our facilities, and we are the 5th global coffee company, and the first one that is doing the dips and spreads around the world. The kitchen is a company builder, actually. We invest, we nurture, and we commercialize. When we look about the program is a partnership with the Israeli Innovation Authorities. While it's between 18 to 24 months that the startup company are working in our Kitchen Hub incubator, they receive a budget for this for those 24 months, and they develop their products. Our main model is that we are licensing an IP from the academic, and we build a team, we invest in the seed round, and launch a startup that eventually will be a successful startup. We support our startup companies in all the fields. If we're talking about technology, so we help them to create a program, a working program. We are doing with them all considering IP and regulation. We work with them on the business development and help them to raise money. We have also the support of the Strauss that helps with their knowledge and expertise, and our global network helps to access to capital and access to markets. Our global partners around the world is Mondelez, Danone, PepsiCo, Givaudan, and more. And we invest mostly in the food tech across the value chain. If we are talking about better industry, so we have projects in the waste reduction and the safety, and also better food, healthy, accessible, affordable, and sustainable. We always say that we are doing good by doing food. Our status, we have already 18 portfolio companies that went through the Kitchen Hub. 28 of them are PhDs, and there is a forum that they are all communicate and brainstorm, and it's really an amazing place for the startups to be. We invest in our portfolio company. Already capital investment was about $58 million. And we have all of our network to help them succeed and grow. When we're dealing with sustainable packaging, how do we look at it? So, of course, we all know that we would like the package to be protective and functional. We are talking about if we need oxygen barrier or humidity problems, we have to face them all. In the economic part of view, we are talking about packages that should save more than it costs, of course, and environmental friendly, because this is part of the sustainability. So we are talking about minimizing carbon footprint, effective material cycling. Also, we are talking about a package that should be attractive and communicate with the consumers. When we are dealing with the plastic problems around the world, we all know that about 350 million tons of plastic produced every year, and the government spends billions to clean up the pollution. And in order to avoid the cost, we see a lot of regulation and bans in those areas. And a lot of chemical companies and others are looking for cost-effective biodegradable materials. As mentioned here before, the EU packaging regulation targets today minimizing waste, reducing carbon footprint, and reducing landfill. In Israel, landfill is the main way to handle the waste. When we are taking care of the packaging, we all know the 3 R's. We're talking about reduce, reuse, and recycle. By doing recycle, we would like to have also energy recovery. As I mentioned, landfill is the main waste handling in Israel, and we would like also to move to some of the incineration facilities that you have. If we are looking on the trends in the packaging industry, So as we mentioned, recycling is one of them, but we need to understand that there is a limit of how much we can recycle, and the polymers are getting weaker from every recycle, so it's really limited. Also, another issue is the infrastructure, the facilities. The companies should have the way to handle the volume that we produce. Reuse is also something that we see a lot. Also here, the packaging should withstand washing and sterilization, and we need also here the infrastructure to collect, to wash, to sterilize, refill, and also to return the packaging to the consumers. We see the trend of replacing plastic to bioplastics and move from the fossil fuel-based plastics. It's a very good solution, but still there are problems that whales can still get choken from ingesting bioplastic bags. And the main trend that I see today is replacing plastic with paper, but we have to remember that a lot of paper is needed in order to fulfill the same function as we see in the plastic counterpart. Reducing and removing the packages, also we see it a lot, but we have to remember that they will not going to this direction if we will not have the same functionality and shelf life. This is the #1 thing that we need to consider when removing or reducing the amount of packaging. Another trend is the monomaterials. If we would like to do the recycling in a better way, we need to move to monomaterials in order to create a better recycling facilities. And eventually the consumer is the key. Communicate and engage the consumers to the process. And as mentioned here before, I don't believe that there is one solution for all. There is no one package for all, and there is a lot of room for innovation in this field. If we look at the companies around the world, we see that Nestle created a research institute in the field of packaging. PepsiCo is making an open innovation submission portal in this area. And Nestle with Danimer Scientific also developing today a biodegradable water bottle. In the reuse and refill systems, we know, I think that mostly we know Loop. One of the companies that engaged together with them is Häagen-Dazs, and the first pilot was done in Canada by using reused packaging. As the future, as we see it in this area, we see a lot of smart packaging, connecting packaging, and a lot of work around sensors within the packaging in order to create a safer food and reduce the waste, of course. In the area of the functional material, endlessly recyclable material, edible, dissolvable, compostable, everything will be in. And greener recycling, of course, using the biocatalysis as a green route for the recycling. We will see it more and more, looking for more molecules to create a recyclable products. Some of the companies that I was happy to see in this area, and they are talking a lot about sustainable packaging. One of them is Oatly, that mainly use renewable and paper-based packaging. Tetra Pak, that is working a lot with laminate and carton. We have here today also WCycle that will explain their patent concerning suprapulp-based packaging, and Tipa that is working a lot in this area, and I love what they wrote there in the website, packaging that acts like plastic with the same disposable as an organic material. Mondi is also looking in this field, and they also go in the route of there is no one package for all, so they write paper where possible and plastic when useful, and many more. Prevera is one of our portfolio company that working in the area of packaging. They have a special unique product that is based on antimicrobial peptides to eliminate microbial contaminants, and they are doing it in water and also in food packaging. Another company in our portfolio is Anina that is using eventually to wrap their product with damaged vegetables. So it's a ready-to-eat, ready-to-cook meal, and the package itself is also edible. What is cooking more in the kitchen? So we have many companies in our portfolio, as I mentioned. Some of them are coming from the alternative proteins. We have companies like Zero Egg, that it's a plant-based egg. And we have also Aleph Farm that are growing the meat in the lab. They are creating meat cuts from the bovine cells. We also have Imagine Dairy that will produce eventually milk with no cows. And EAP that is using the yeast proteins for the analog meat industry. We also have projects around reducing sugars. So Amai Protein is producing protein-based sweeteners in the fermentation facilities. And Better Juice that have a continuous enzymatic process to reduce sugar in their natural fruit juices. We have also a lot of companies in the healthy eating area. So we have Yofix that is doing a fermentation of different grains and producing a plant-based yogurt and drinks. And Vanilla Vida that eventually we need also to have the flavors inside. So they are growing the natural vanilla. Tor is creating bars with a very special, unique technology that replacing the natural binding agent. Most of the binding agents in the cereal bars are sugars. By the iWeld technology, they are able to connect the different ingredients in the bar with no sugar. Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it. It was my pleasure of being here. And if you have any question, I'm here.
Thanks very much, Dorit. That was very, very interesting. We definitely appreciate the time, the effort, and it's very, very interesting what is cooking in the kitchen.
Completely, definitely.
So we have to move on. I see that there are quite a few questions for Dorit and for Hele. So maybe we have about 2 minutes left on the clock. So maybe I'll just, Hele, if you'll join us, I'll just unmute you. So we'll do a little quick session here. I have a question. The first one is organic, great for biodiversity, but less for CO2. Many KPIs for sustainability conflicting. I think that's more of a statement than a question. Opposite on plastic, great for CO2, but bad for biodiversity, fossil use. Any comments on that, ladies?
Maybe I can just say it follows fine in line, the organic sustainability ones with the research I shared with you, because consumers, they are very much driven of different factors, whereas some are very much into the organic, and there's also a lot of organic food production here in Denmark. And then there's I don't need to say it's a conflict, but I think it's a paradox between over to the sustainability and the sustainable packaging. And also there's a whole another area we're not talking about right now, but that's healthy food. And how does that then fit with the other parameters? And of course, it's challenging to be here in the food industry because you have to meet all of these criteria and demands from the consumer. So it's something we have to be very much aware of as the food producing companies or ecosystems supporting food producing or food technology companies indeed.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, that's very interesting. And there's another question. Is there any regulation that pressures or will pressure the food industry to commercialize more sustainable food packaging, or now we just have an estimation of what we will find in 2025? That's an interesting point.
Yeah, from what we see, there is a lot of pressure on the food industry in Israel, and I think also in Europe. And they put the bans on, also they create a regulation around the work that the facilities, the food facilities must do. So we see a lot of work concerning the infrastructure inside those facilities and inside the food industry. And I guess we will see it more and more during this till 2025. We will see much more work concerning the infrastructure in the food plants.
I think if I can add a comment as well on that side, Now there's the EU regulation, which is a great start. I think what's needed is down to a company or country level, because right now there's, for instance, also no labeling. What is even sustainable packaging? I think it will be so much easier for the consumer once they can buy a food product and it has a label stating this is sustainable packaging, just as the organic label, which is very known all over the world now, you could say, at least the European organic green label. I think this will help as well. And then there's also just a need, a very large need for some public regulations. For instance, in Denmark, all our municipalities, there's just under 100 municipalities, and they have different rules on how to handle waste. Should hard plastic, soft plastic, what container should they go in, and how do you do it? And in such a small country as Denmark, if we can't even figure out to make a system that fits everyone, it's very hard to achieve the goals there is on an international and global level. So I think there's also a thing needed there. There's a very large need for some public regulations on how do you handle the waste. And then, of course, there is the consumer side. But I understand the consumers are confused because they don't know if what they buy is even sustainable because there's no label to help them. And they don't know how to handle it because maybe at their home it has to go in one bin, then they visit their holiday house or they go visit family, and then that's a new municipality, so that's a new rules and new guidelines. Of course people are confused. We need some clear guidelines and regulations before we can do a great impact here, is what I believe.
Great, thanks very much for that answer, guys. So we will be moving now into the portion where we're presenting some of these interesting Israeli solutions to some of the problems that have been outlined by Hele and by Dorit, and that are bringing great challenges for the food industry. The first company we would like to highlight is Evigens with Danny Cohen. Hi, Danny. I'll just make you live and unmute you. All right, Danny, you just need to unmute yourself. There we go.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Was very interesting till now, and we're in a second session. First one was 3 weeks or 2 weeks ago. So thank you for organizing it, and thank you for giving Evigens the opportunity to present. I will not present in a typical presentation, but I'll show you our product and explain it because it's very easy. It's simple and easy to understand. We're a 30 people company based in Israel, and most of our people are lab and engineering. We deal with TTI. TTI, if you Google TTI, you would find it's called time temperature indicators. They are well known in the market for many, many years. Our TTI, and I'm showing you an example, gradually changes color, let's say in this example, from green to red. Green would be a starting point which you want to monitor a product or an SKU, which is temperature controlled, of course, and this is what we're looking for. The example that I'm showing here is a TTI produced for McDonald's that they want to monitor the bands, the customer experience at McDonald's, is not only the meat or the substitute of meat, but also the bands. They had a lot of waste there because they didn't know how to monitor it. You need to serve it within 48 hours, otherwise it loses its freshness. And here we gave them a very simple visual methodology, how to monitor the freshness quality of the bands in the stores. And they really did a much better management when monitoring the bands, and they reduced waste significantly by using these sensors. We're talking about, by the way, the product is fully commercial and runs in multi-millions annually. And so the McDonald's was a big success. I'll show you some more examples. Basically, of course, it has to deal with regulation, but the vision is that we're going to replace the date code because the sensor really mimics the real condition in which a product is being kept. Date code is statistic number. Of course, it's based on various parameters, but once you apply the sensor on a specific product, it mimics the real conditions. And it could be used in the supply chain from the producer, during going to the distribution center, going to the stores, transportation. The customer would choose exactly the interval that he would like to use the sensor. It could be in the stores, in the supermarkets, and a new project that we're dealing right now is in Russia with X5. It's launched. It's a multi-million project for ready-to-eat food. By the way, ready-to-eat food has become an emerging market these days due to the COVID. One, because people care about the quality and freshness of the meals, and secondly, it was the second best to restaurants if they want to have ready-to-eat food at their homes, and the demand was really big. So this sensor would start at the manufacturing, the main kitchen, the ready-to-eat food, going to the supply chain, and it would be consumer facing. So other than monitoring the supply chain and eliminating waste, it would be visual to the consumer saying, hey, we guarantee freshness, and it would uplift sales as well simultaneously. Here's another sensor we're going with to the fish market in Korea. Again, starting point, end point, and we could customize exactly the profile of temperature and days for each product. We could customize the graphics. You want it for 5 days at 5C, we could do it 5 days 5C. There's another big project going now. I cannot provide the name of a big retail in Germany, in which they want to monitor rotisserie chicken. As you may know, rotisserie chicken, grilled chicken, could be on the hot shelves for 3 hours at 65C, and the sensor would help monitoring the staff store when to take it off the shelf, because you want to deliver it at its best freshness condition. Here's another one going to another category, which is floral flowers, starting point, end point, and in between. Of course, there's an in-between color, and you could still sell the flowers at a discount if it's coming towards its end of the shelf life, and not throw it away. Just sell it for a 50% discount. On top of it, we have an app in which you could take the consumer, or in the stores, you could take a picture of the sensor. It would give you the remaining shelf life. So reducing weight, uplifting sales, the various use cases, and the app. I think this is it. We're fully commercial, and we're going to launch a big project now in North America with the 2 biggest retailers. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Danny. I have a question. It is, will you have to pay fees for the technology?
If the technology costs money, if the device costs money.
Is it fee-based, yes. I think?
Yeah, the advantage here is it's small, it's visual, and it's very low cost. It's volume dependent. I mean, if we're talking about millions of millions, it's a few cents per each sensor. Okay?
Great. Thanks very much. And that's all from Danny. And you will also have the opportunity to meet Danny one-to-one. If you're interested, please contact me and we will make the introduction. Our next speaker is Amir Biran. from Greenspence. And I'll just bring you live, Amir. Hi, Amir. How are you?
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Pleasure to be here. I think I'll share my screen, and if I'm not mistaken, I'm supposed to do it. Do you see my screen?
Yep, in one moment. I'll just
Okay.
it's loading. And now it's live.
Good. Okay. So, good. So Greenspence is about...
Could you maybe just make it full screen?
Sure. 1 sec. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. So Greenspence is about replacing the source of energy that is used in aerosol packages. Now, I know I'm using some words that don't connect to each other, so I'll start from the beginning. Aerosol packages that we all use at home. I'm sure everybody here has a few aerosol packages in different locations in his home, from cleaning to personal care to maybe food, and so on and so forth, and technical products. We all use them every day, and the world is consuming about 16 billion of those every year now, spread pretty much evenly between the continents. But it's important to point out that Europe is by far the largest user of aerosol packages in the world, consuming about 35%, 33% of the worldwide production. Okay. So aerosol packages are a very interesting mechanism that allows us all to get a dispensing whenever we press a button, actually a valve that is pressed underneath a button. It's very convenient, it works very well. The issue is that the energy that the button supplies is actually coming from compressed gas that is there within the aerosol packages. And the compressed gas in 85% of the cases is actually mixed with the product itself. So when you spray deodorant on yourself, you get both the deodorant and the gas. And the ratio is in average 50-50, gas 50 gas and 50 product. That's in 85% of the cases. The gas implies its energy, the compressed gas implies its energy in all directions, as one can guess. And what we've done in Greenspence is we've looked at the issues that the gas brings with it and said, why won't we develop and offer a different energy source to replace the gas and get rid of all the disadvantages of aerosols. Now, what are these disadvantages? I'll quickly cover them. Aerosol, because they are energized by gas, in an average aerosol, you get pressure that is twice the pressure in the tires of your cars. And in some cases, for example, shaving gel, it gets up to 4 times the pressure of the tires in your car, or in an average car, okay? So there's a very high degree of pressure in the package that we put near our body, and when there is an issue, there is a big issue. So there is a lot of safety, there are many safety issues involved with aerosols. In 90% of the time, the gas is simply propan-butane, which is flammable and therefore explosive, okay? Because we use pressurized gas, we need what we call pressurized packages that always have to be cylindrical, okay, and very well sealed and very well tested, and are very limited in the way that we ship them and store them and so on and so forth, okay? The energy and the CO2 emissions that are involved in getting the gas between places, in making those compressed or pressurized packages available, and throughout all the process is very high because we're dealing always with metals, be it aluminum or tin plate. It's always metals where you need very high degrees, very high temperatures in order to melt and make these packages ready for use, and the same for recycling these packages. Okay, so what we have here are many limitations that are all a source of the fact that the energy source within the aerosol that allows us to simply press with one finger and get very good spray or gel or whatever it is there coming out as long as we press and we don't have to pump and so on and so forth is done. The energy source is the compressed gas. So Greenspan's developed a different mechanism, which I'll explain in 2 minutes, to replace the energy source, the gas as an energy source. And by that, actually, we got rid of all the disadvantages of the compressed gas. And what we allow here are, first of all, nicer packages that are very important from a branding perspective, that can be made from any material and in most shapes that you can think about. And this is because there is no gas that's pushing them from inside. There is no compressed gas that is simply has to be stored and sealed, and there's nothing to worry about bursting and becoming, flammable and so on. The whole process is very sustainable because our product allows refilling for a good number of times and can be easily recycled when it's done, when it cannot be used anymore. There are no additives that needs to be put. And when I'm saying additives, I mean that when you actually mix today gas with a deodorant, for example, in many cases you have to add different materials so that the gas will live in peace with the deodorant. Since in our case, the deodorant is there by itself and is well protected and sealed by us, by our device, no additives for whatsoever are needed. So food, anything that touches the human body or anything that's chemical and actually would do much better without gas, you don't have to care about how do we let that material, that product of ours, live with the gas. So with design differentiation enabled, all the issues of sustainability gone, there is also a very serious advantage about not being classified as hazardous, or as some call it, dangerous goods. Okay, a product that is packed within a package using our device can be basically stored and shipped just like you do with a shampoo bottle, for example. No issues, can be transported and can be produced and filled in a very cost competitive manner. Okay, now how does all that work? What we have done is we've developed a product that you can see on the left here when it's empty. The product actually, if you can see my cursor, this is our product when it's ready to be shipped from Greenspan's and be filled with the product, with the deodorant in our example, by the brand or the filling company. Okay, and inside it there is a bag, a very special bag, and an elastomer material that generates the power, the pressure that's needed in order to allow similar user experience, consumer experience to what people are used to get today from aerosols. Okay, when this is put into a package, it gets filled exactly in the same way that aerosols are filled today, but with no gas feed. Okay, and the whole thing gets filled, the elastomer stretches, and the secret in our elastomer is that it provides very high pressure. The high pressure, as you understand from what I've said at the beginning, is needed in order to create the good spray, the good dispensing that is needed and that is known by the consumers. So basically, in our case versus an aerosol case, you get pressure that is directed only towards the center of the package. Nothing is required from the outer package as for sealing and withstanding the pressure, like with aerosols. And that's enabled by our technology in technological advances in elastomer and nanotechnology. in order to get the high pressure that's needed, and in plastic and laminate development. The product, our device, can fit, as I've mentioned, any package that you can think about. It is safe. It provides the same user experience as aerosols. The packages can be made from any material, and we provide the device and the packages and everything all sum up, add up to a price, a cost to the brand that is competitive to aerosol packages and can be filled over existing filling lines. So we are not the packaging provider. We have packaging partners. They do the packages. There are packages from cardboard, from plastic, and of course, if brands wish, they can use aluminum and so on and so forth, or continue to move on with their existing packages, although most of them are not going to do that with our product. And all is done at a competitive cost to aerosol packages, and we believe that it is going to be much more cost effective than aerosol packages as we will grow our production line. So that's in a nutshell.
Thanks very much indeed, Amir. That was very, very interesting. I think it'll be something we'll be seeing on the shelves very, very soon. Again, there's an opportunity to meet with Amir and hear more about Greenspence, and we'll be happy to facilitate that. Our next speaker is Shai Seltzer from ROP. I'll just bring you live, Shai, if you're ready.
Thank you, Andres. Share content, right?
Yep.
Okay, looks like sharing. You can probably see my screen right now?
Nope.
Not yet.
Not yet. I don't see it in the pipeline.
Can you see it now?
Okay, it's coming, loading now. And great. Now we see your presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. Just a short introduction for myself. I'm an agronomist, post-harvest specialist, spending my entire career, over 20 years, in developing packaging to preserve freshness from the point perspective of the plant itself, plant physiology and the specific requirements. Talking about reducing food waste, or as I phrased here, making plastic packaging and sustainability live in harmony in the same sentence. So ROP is a privately owned, vertically integrated company with global presence. We have production facilities in Israel and the Czech Republic, distribution network in North America and Western Europe, and profound experience in polymer engineering and post-harvest. Protecting the environment, we see it as our responsibility. Being in this business of producing plastic, we want to make sure that the plastic that we make is helping reducing food waste, and in general, reducing the amount of packaging used. Just to make a point, fresh produce always makes it to the cashier in bags. So the concept is to have it packed so that it preserves its freshness from the first point. A few axioms about fresh produce. Absolute freshness is to say the produce is in at the moment that it's harvested. Negative point is that from this point on, the produce begins to deteriorate. This process is irreversible. But the good thing is that using the right post-harvest protocols and packaging material, we could dramatically slow this and thus reduce waste. The company stated 5 pillars as its strategy towards implementing environmental responsibility. One is preserving the freshness and reducing waste. The second is packaging selection that is suitable for protecting the produce within. Then reducing the packaging to the minimum required based on the size, based on the weight of the product. And next point is selecting the material. One of the speakers ahead of me was mentioning about monopolymers, so we're focusing on that. So it's the least has the least harmful impact, and also developing biodegradable or compostable packaging. We are basing our development on deep understanding of the fresh produce, hands-on. We collaborate with growers, with retailers. We have an in-house post-harvest lab. That's where it all starts. We start with the small scale, then go to the market and increase the size of our trials until we reach fully commercial scale. The packaging developed is produce specific, but with that being said, in order to reduce the amount of inventory, we put them in clusters of families and try to have one packaging that works good enough with 2 or more produce items. And it's designed to preserve the absolute freshness for the consumer to enjoy. And here is an example of product selection. We had a customer of ours, big grower shipper of broccoli, using regular polyethylene with macro perforation. That's the one that we see here to the left, foxy broccoli that already turned yellow. And on the right-hand side, broccoli in the smart packaging, in the modified atmosphere packaging that is designed to delay the degradation of the chlorophyll and therefore preserve the freshness of the product. In the big circle here, many different types of packaging that were tested. Some of them have anti-fog attributes to it, others are not, and therefore condensation built up inside the bag and reduce the freshness or increase the risk for the product to get decayed. Others that have still very good anti-fog properties, but the modified atmosphere inside, or the atmosphere inside, is not in favor of protecting the product. Therefore, the senescence of the product, or degradation of chlorophyll in this case, continues. And here in the center, the chosen packaging with the nice presentation, the minimum amount of plastics required, and the right atmosphere to protect the freshness of the product that is packed inside. Store level, we're looking at waste reduction. We know that bananas, if not packed into bags, will be separated by consumers. So both we're going to lose on all the single bananas, because a consumer coming to the store wants a single banana. He's not going to take one of the single ones, but rather split from the cluster and take the single banana that he wants. So this is one of the reasons. The other one is those bananas have relatively short shelf life. Those that start to turn black will not be taken by a consumer. And here is a demonstration of a regular packaging, regular plastic bag versus modified atmosphere packaging versus bananas that has no bags around it. A few more examples here with regular polyethylene versus MAP, in this case kale. The attempt to reduce packaging to the minimum required drives us to develop ultra thin film. We're looking at 12 to 15 micron in gauge. That is also creating a modified atmosphere inside and negate the need for using of trays or any other additional packaging on one hand, and on the other hand, reducing the amount of plastic. So a regular plastic bag would be anywhere between 23 at the minimum to even 50 and 60 micron in gauge, and we're looking at 12 to 15. So that's a substantial reduction in the amount of plastics. The packaging material that we're focusing on are those of the least ecological impact. We're talking about cast polypropylene or cast polyethylene, sometimes using bio-oriented polypropylene, BOPP, but avoiding and recommending to eliminate those PVC or laminates or polystyrene based or polyamide that are not recyclable, that are not reusable from the industry. We also making steps into biodegradable films. We have a few samples, a few headways with selected films that as soon as it becomes marketable, it will be presented to our potential customers. The company is certified with all the necessary certifications, BRC and HACCP and all the rest. And we're looking for partners to grow together, distributors to expand sales in Scandinavia and collaboration in packaging innovation. And that's it.
Thanks very much, Sean. That was very, very interesting. I have actually a question from Hele. Can it only be used for fruits and vegetables?
No, not necessarily. I don't have a slide here, but we are serving the entire industry. All kinds of, from metals to other food materials, food ingredients, flour or pasta, or many products. Yeah. One more thing maybe to emphasize is that it's all under one roof. We're starting with the granular material. We have all the production facility here, till including printing and bag making or roll stock. So it's all under full control, under one roof.
Great. Thanks very much, Shai.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Avital from TIPA. Hello, Avital. Oh, you're still muted. Great, your presentation. Avital, you are still muted.
Avital? What about now?
You have to,
perfect.
That's good.
There you go. Great.
Thank you for your patience. So, hello everyone. Thank you once again, Anders, for the introduction and for the opportunity to present TIPA, an innovator and developer of fully compostable, flexible packaging. TIPA was established as a response to the global plastic waste crisis. As we all know, the market has been long dominated by non-biodegradable plastic waste. And until now, over 8 billion metric tons of plastics have been produced, most of it used only once prior to being discarded. So just think about all the single-use plastics that surround us every day. The recycling rates for flexible packaging for plastic waste in general are worryingly low, and especially so if we're speaking about flexible plastics. The recycling rate for flexible plastic packaging in the EU is around 5% only, and even less so globally. Most of this non-biodegradable waste either gets discarded in landfills, I know this is less relevant in Scandinavia, or ends up in open environments or is incinerated. And so we've got this huge and growing flexible packaging market with no viable end-of-life solutions. It is estimated that in the next 3 decades, the production and consumption rates of plastics will triple, as you can see in this slide. We are already dealing with a global plastic waste crisis and alarming rates of pollution. So just imagine what will happen in the next 3 decades if no viable alternative solutions are found and adopted. And so having that all in mind and being inspired by nature, which has already invented perfect packaging, which, just like this orange peel, fully biodegrades and returns back to the earth. We developed a high-end, a fully compostable, flexible packaging, which emulates properties of conventional plastics that we've all ourselves and our customers have grown accustomed to. And these properties are high transparency. As you can see, the product is fully visible within the stand-up pouch. Durability, printability. We offer compostable printed solutions and we use compostable inks. Machinability. Our packaging works with existing machinery. Shelf life and shelf stability. Our packaging will not biodegrade on the shelf without composting conditions, and it will not biodegrade on your product. And our packaging also has barrier properties. And besides all of these positive qualities and properties, our packaging has a huge advantage in comparison with conventional plastics of being fully compostable, of having a sustainable end of life, just like any other organic waste. In this scheme, in this visual, you can see how our packaging, in this case, a home compostable zipper bag, under composting conditions, breaks down into small particles, not microplastics, small particles that are then eaten and digested by microorganisms and various bacteria, and turns into nutrient-rich compost, which can be used as a natural fertilizer for nourishing eroded and degraded soils. And this process takes less than 6 months. And of course, all our films and laminates are certified either home compostable or by TUV or industrial compostable by appropriate certification agencies such as TUV Austria in Europe and BPI in the United States. So in this scheme, you can see how TIPA offers a fully circular solution for circular economy. So our packaging contains plant-based content. We use only fully compostable polymers for the production of our films and laminates. And at this point, we can already meet you. So if you are a converter, we can provide you with unprinted reels of films or laminates, either for bag making or for lamination. If you are a co-packer, we can provide you with printed reels. And if you are a brand, of course, we can provide you with pre-made packaging like the standard pouch, produced according to your requirements, according to the barrier needed for your product to keep it fresh, according to your dimensions, printed solution, desired thickness, and so on. And once the packaging is no longer needed to protect the goods, it should be discarded together with organic waste, ideally into compost, where it will fully biodegrade, as said before, in under 6 months, without leaving any harmful residue, microplastics, or anything else that could be harmful for the soil. And quite oppositely, it will actually nourish the soil and return back to earth, hence closing the loop. And so in this slide, you can see just a few examples of our films and laminates that we are offering. They all have different barriers and properties, starting from simple single ply home compostable transparent solutions like our TIPA 302 film, which is commonly used to pack fresh produce, frozen and chilled food, non-food, and it also works as a sealant layer in lamination. And to complex multi-layer structures like this in the industrial compostable metallized 3-ply laminate. Here you can see an example of our finished packaging. It's an open wicketed bag, which we are producing for Waitrose organic retail chain in the UK. As you can see, they're packing their organic bananas in it. Here are a few more examples of our packaging used to pack dry goods, different types of dry goods and snacks, as well as chilled and frozen food, tea, and bakery products. And here you can see just a few of our clients and partners from across different sectors of food and non-food industries. If your company has committed or would like to commit to start using only compostable, reusable, or recyclable packaging, we would be more than happy to assist you in making the switch and in bringing more sustainability to your supply chain. If you choose TIPA's compostable packaging, you will not need to compromise neither on the quality and performance of the packaging, nor on your sustainability ethos and sustainability values. And so I would like to conclude with TIPA's vision, which is something that motivates and inspires us every day. So we truly believe that flexible packaging should be part of our organic waste. It should decompose and fully go back to nature, hence turning waste into a resource. So I'd like to thank you very much for your patience. And I welcome your questions either now or anytime after this event. You're welcome to visit our website, tipa-corp.com. You can find our contact details. You can find an inquiry form and drop us a line, and we'll be happy to hear from you and get back to you shortly. So thank you once again.
Thank you very much indeed, Avital. We very much appreciate you participating. TIPA is really one of the companies that we we hear about, that companies are asking about. I think that we definitely have just begun to see the future of TIPA in Scandinavia. And again, if you want to meet Avital and TIPA and listen, hear more about their innovative solutions, we'll be more than happy to arrange that. I'm afraid that W-Cycle has been detained and will not be able to present at this time. We do have their presentation and we'll be able to share it with you at a later date. So that concludes the program for today. I'd just like to say a word, first a word of thanks to our partners in the Agrifood Park, the Food&Bio Cluster, Enterprise Europe Network, Business Region Aarhus, and of course the Export Institute, Yaro Shimoni, the Commercial Attaché in the Netherlands, Mr. Eitan Cooperstock, and the Foreign Trade Administration, and the Embassy of Israel and Denmark. So quite a lot of people there to thank, but it has been an interesting road, and we've only just begun in packaging and food tech. Hopefully soon we will be able to welcome you all to Israel. We'll be very happy to arrange for you any types of connections that you might have, or any kind of overview of the innovative Israeli food tech packaging scene. Have an excellent day, and thanks very much for tuning in. And thanks to all our speakers, of course. Bye.
Thanks, Anders.